some people from healthcare institutions in Europe or maybe beyond, I'm not sure. And today's topic is we're very happy to welcome Dr. Bart van Straten, who will be telling us about a hot topic in our industry, both from the industry part, but also from the healthcare providers part. And we'll be talking about sustainability in our environment and in our industry with the topic from surgical waste to medical products. We talked about it already among our associates a lot, and I think it's very interesting to share insights or Bart's sharing his insights from his team. So thank you very much in advance, and looking forward to a constructive presentation and communication. Thank you.
Thank you and good morning, everybody. I will start to share my screen. And let me see if I can put it on. So does everybody see the first slide of the presentation?
Perfect.
Yes.
Very good. Okay, I will take you the next 20 minutes through some of our research, which I do together with Tim Horeman at Delft University of Technology. Tim has his own research line, Sustainable Surgery and Translational Technology, and that's something this research line, I joined it. But then with the focus on how can we use circular economy principles into our businesses and hospitals, and in particular, how can we eliminate hospital waste and use it as a source of raw material or source of input so that we can make new products out of it or prolong the life of new products. Of course, a disclaimer slide. I'm not only involved in research, I'm also active at the Dutch Institute for Standardization, where I'm the chairman of the platform Sustainability in Medical Devices. I have some other functions. I'm also active in two companies, Straten Medical, based in Utrecht and Meren, and Green Cycle. Although Green Cycle is not in the sense a purely commercial company, it's also a vehicle to perform experimental research and to help to make the healthcare more sustainable. Well, I don't know if you have seen this ladder of sustainability before, but what it shows you some aspects how we can make our life more sustainable, going from high sustainability to low sustainability. And our focus within our research is basically on these aspects. We really look at how can we redesign medical devices in terms that it eliminates waste, also called designing out waste. How can we reuse and repair products so that we save them from the garbage piles? And if that does not work, how can we use recycling to generate new raw material? Well, this is me and Tim at Delft. This is the faculty of mechanical engineering where we built an oven. And what you see here is that we have a basket of laryngoscopic blades. I don't know, maybe there are some members here present this morning or afternoon in Asia who sell these kind of blades. But some of these blades are made out of a metal. And it's called SAMAC. It's 96% zinc, and this oven is designed to melt that material into new, we call it some kind of sandwiches from which we make new products and components. It's a very high quality, nice material to work with, and these blades are single use, so they are disposed after one time, which is a shame because we need to import these raw materials, SAMAC, from places far away, while at the same time we throw it away. Well, this is a graph which I would like to discuss with you all. Obviously, after this presentation, you will all come out as sustainability experts. But we need some introduction and some graphs to discuss with each other. And here you see the development of the human global population of the last 12,000 years. And what's really remarkable that it took us 12,000 years to come to a certain point in 1800 where we reach 1 billion human beings on this earth. And only 223 years later, we passed the 8 billion persons. And that was last 15 November, where the world announced that the 8 billion person was born. And if we continue in this space, you can imagine that we need more than one Earth, which we already need, to produce all the raw materials which we use. And the second interpretation which you can make from this graph is that it visualizes that our mass consumption society. And in 1800, we had far less people consuming goods and services than we have now. And also, if you bear in mind that after World War II, there was a big rise of disposable single-use products. So not only the human population grew, but also the number of single-use products. And here we see a second graph, which I would like to discuss with you, which represents the energy mix. Starting in 1800, where we had a lot of traditional biomass and a little bit of coal, which we used to create heat and energy. But look what happens. If we pass the 80s, the 90s, we go to these years, we see that we have a lot of coal, oil, and natural gas, which we hear a lot from the news, of course. And the top 4 layers is the renewable energy, which is also nice presented in the graph on the right side. If you look to the right side, we should have oil, coal, and gas. And the last 4 or 5 elements are the renewables. So solar, wind, hydrogen, which is invested in a lot. But if you hear the politics saying we have to stop with gas, which they say a lot in Holland, or we have to stop importing oil from other countries, it's not possible. It's not realistic, people. We can, even if we would double renewable energy, then we even are still dependent on oil and gas. We cannot stop it. We need it. Otherwise, we get bigger problems, which we are already getting, because we are seeing that there is increased lead times and increased prices on raw materials such as oil and metal. And look at this graph right above. It's a graph visualizing our production of iron ore, which we use a lot in the medical devices. Iron ore is mined to make stainless steel, specifically the stainless steel types 304, 316, which we use for surgical instruments and mesh baskets and carts and all kinds of trolleys. You see what happened after 2000. There was an enormous increase of iron ore mining, because we are building so many buildings and infrastructure. We need iron ore. So translating that to our business, the medical devices, we use oil, crude oil, naphtha, which we turn into granules. And from those granules, we injection mold plastic products, not only the iPhones, but also blue wrapping paper on the right side, or face masks. And we call it paper, but it is actually plastic. It's a polypropylene plastic. And on the bottom, we see the iron ore, and we use that iron ore to make stainless steel, from which we make a lot of products. And most of those products, and I deliberately put those on the right, that wrapping paper for surgical instruments, a face mask, and the instruments below, because those are single-use products. Also the instruments. We have faced an enormous increase of the use of single-use instruments. An average hospital in Holland uses a disposable instrument 50,000 times per year. So we get patients in and we remove stitches, and we use 3 disposable instruments for that, only one time, and then we throw it away. And if you realize that the mines where we are dependent on are situated in areas around the world which are hard accessible. So with all our mass consumption needs, we rely on those few mines mentioned below, gas and oil and iron ore. And of course, we face at this moment quite some geopolitical unstable situations. But yeah, our mass consumption society requires that we use more. And at this moment, we need 1.75 Earth to fulfill our needs with raw materials. And that mass consumption society, which started after the Second World War, was based on a make, use, and dispose society, which is also called the linear economy. Make as many products as you can and sell as many products as you can. Well, that has a toll. There's another perspective on dealing with products, which are the principles of the circular economy. And instead of talking about a society for make, use, dispose, we visualize a economy based on make, use, and reuse of materials. And this is a model, a diagram, which was published in 2013 by the Ellen MacArthur Foundation. And what you see is a picture of a butterfly with on the left side a wing representing the biological loops and on the right side the technological loops. And from above to the bottom, you see the raw materials, the mining of oil and iron ore. They are, if you go down, processed to products which are used, and then in the bottom it's disposed of as landfill or incineration. And as you are probably aware, by law in many countries, it is required to have hospital waste be incinerated so that it is burned. And what this butterfly diagram wants to achieve is to stop the waste production. So we don't have materials anymore going to landfill or incineration, but we take them out of the process. And we focus on the right loops, the technical loops. And then from small to large, you see maintenance, you see reuse, you see refurbish, remanufacturing, and recycling. And every loop becomes larger. And that means that it uses more energy if you go up into the loops. So maintenance requires, well, not so much energy. But if you reuse, if you take a face mask out and you clean it and you redistribute it, you need to transport it. So it needs a little bit more energy. If you have a refurbish or remanufacturing service, if you sell your products and you take them back and you repair them to new manufacturing conditions, you need a little bit more energy because you use probably parts and you have to maybe put a coating on it. And the last resort is recycling. Obviously, it uses the most energy, but still it's a lot less than harvesting and reprocessing raw materials. So it's a very nice model also to use in your business as strategies. If you want to become a company pursuing the circular economy principles, then it would be nice to think about these loops, how to implement them in your daily business life. Or when you're in a hospital, if you purchase products, how you can purchase these products with suppliers who apply these strategies. Well, here there are some examples from the right side of the butterfly diagram. We see share, maintenance, reuse, repair, refurbishment, and recycling. You can do it in many different ways, but it's something to think about for the future. And this picture I put in, it shows the robot-assisted surgery. It's a robot platform, and it's always funny to call it robot surgery because the definition of robotics is that it is a mechanism that you don't have to steer. It can make procedures by itself. You can program it and then it performs its own surgery. And of course, we know that with robot platforms, you have to drive it like a PlayStation. But it sounds sexy, robot surgery, so a lot of hospitals use it, and it is, of course, a very sophisticated technology. But the downside of this platform technology is that it requires a lot of disposables. And the arms are covered, as you see, with plastic sheets. And there is a complete plastic soup in the operating room, which was not there with conventional surgery. And it's not so that the suppliers of robot systems collect that plastic soup and recycle it. No, it has to be disposed. Well, collecting is, of course, possible of waste in hospital or in any type of field, and that phenomenon is called urban mining. Urban mining is a topic which is being discussed these days more and more. And what it does, it's opposite to geological mining, where you go to an iron ore mine. Most of them are, the biggest ones are in Australia and Brazil. You mine iron ore and you bring it to Southeast Asia or to Europe and process it in metal sheet metal. But you can also look around you on the table, or if a building is demolished, you can also source your raw material there. You can mine it, and it's not as a geological mining like oil and iron or underground stocks, but we talk about above the ground stocks. And the good thing about the urban mining and the above ground stocks is that the energy to make it a material has already been used. So we don't have to reuse that. The only thing what we need to do is to melt it, to transport it, and bring it back into circulation. And that's a lot less energy as compared to geological mining. And the hospital is really a nice place to urban mine high quality materials. And this is a overview of some buckets, bins, which we collected. Laryngoscopic blades. On the left side, you see the single-use instruments. On the right side, we see the wrapping paper. That's a picture in our field lab called Green Cycle. And left bottom, you see, of course, there's something you also have to do. What we do is sometimes you need to decontaminate the waste. Otherwise, you cannot touch it. And then you get endless possibilities. We made some mesh baskets out of collected metal waste, out of collected metal instruments, which were melted on 1500 degrees into sheet metal, and that sheet metal was used by us to make those mesh baskets. And below you see a nice component made of the Samac laryngoscopic blades, and on the right side we used the blue wrap, the wrapping paper, melted into blocks and then into granules, and we made a instrument opener, where you see the drawing on the left side below. And here you see a small movie showing that process.
Straten doe ik onderzoek naar het hergebruik van medisch afval aan de TU Delft. Binnen de onderzoekslijn Sustainable Surgery en Translational Technology onderzoeken wij hoe we technologie en wetenschap kunnen inzetten om van medisch afval nieuwe producten te maken.
Green Cycle is opgericht om de zorg te verduurzamen. En hiervoor werken we samen met diverse partijen. Straten Medical, Renewi, TU Delft, het Maasstadziekenhuis en Green Cycle als coördinator.
Het Maasstadziekenhuis wil als duurzaam ziekenhuis afval laten omzetten in producten.
Normaal komt er veel afval vanuit de operatiekamer, zoals inpakpapier van instrumentnetten, dat hier wordt verzameld om niet meer weg te gooien, maar te recyclen. Het afval dat normaal gesproken verbrand wordt, wordt opgehaald door Renewi.
Het afval wordt getransporteerd naar Green Cycle in de Meer in Utrecht, waar het afval wordt verwerkt naar een nieuwe grondstof. Het inpakpapier wordt op hoge temperatuur omgesmolten in een speciale smeltoven, de sterimelt. Het afval wordt omgesmolten naar een solide blok materiaal met een hele hoge zuiverheid.
Het blok wordt in kleinere stukken verder verwerkt. De grondstof wordt gebruikt om nieuwe medische producten te maken, zoals de door ons ontworpen instrumentopener. De instrumentopener is als medisch product uitvoerig getest op mechanische eigenschappen en wordt weer ingezet op de centrale sterilisatie van het Maasstadziekenhuis. Dit is een voorbeeld van de circulaire economie, waarbij het Maasstadziekenhuis producten gebruikt, gemaakt van hun eigen afval. Alleen samen maken we de wereld duurzamer En kunnen we als Nederland een voorbeeld zijn vanuit de gedachte van de Green Deal.
So what we did there, of course, we used a lot of testing and research to turn it into a product eventually, but we designed a process where we had the blue wrapping sheets melted into blocks in granules and then injection molded into new products. And the nice thing and the nice challenge we have is using disposable products and reprocess them into reusable products. And that's the ultimate challenge. And for the technical fans in this webinar, I also have some very nice material data. Once you see, if you melt waste into new products, we typically make dog bones first. You see it on the left side top. A dog bone has the shape of a dog bone, and it's being connected into a tensile test machine, and it slowly tears apart the dog bone, and then it calculates the strain, like elastic band, and it tests the point where it breaks, so the tensile strength. And what we see here in the graph is the blue line is the recycled material, and the orange line is the virgin material. And what we immediately see, if we start to recycle this kind of medical waste into new products, we increase the strength of the material, and it becomes we have less strain, so it becomes a little bit more brittle. But for medical applications, it's really the nice properties we want to achieve, to getting more strength into the material. And we test in different mix ratios, varying from 25 to 100% recycled. You can all read these data in the publications we have submitted. And here again, you see if we start to mix or we start to recycle more, we get more hardness, but we also get more brittleness. And if we incorporate that in our new designs and new design products, then we can use it as a very nice input. And at the moment, what we are working on, Timmy and the team, is to put all that data from those dog bone tests into a database. So when designers start to draw and make their new products, then they can use these input of recycled material to design their products. After that, we obviously also did some FEM analysis, seeing where the weak points were in the design. But in the end, it resulted into a product, the first product made in the world out of 100% recycled material, which got a CE mark. And at the moment, well, it took us about 8 weeks to make the drawings, make the injection molding tools, and injection mold 1,000 pieces. 8 weeks, but it took us 1 year to get the CE. So obviously with the MDR all a little bit more stricter, and in terms of material characterization, a little bit harder if you make your own raw material. So 22nd of March 2022, we had the CE file, and then we started to introduce it into market slowly. And at the moment, I think we already had more than 10,000 of these instrument openers being used in hospitals. So that's a good number. In the beginning, we had some difficulties, but we changed the material mix, so it's a little bit more elastic now, the material, so it doesn't break. And these are all steps you have to go through. And if you go through them, there's a whole lot of materials you can make out of waste. Here you see all kind of materials which we made from plastic, even 3D print filament from packaging, implant packaging. And they're all being used at the moment in some kind of way. So if you are listening now this morning, and whether you are a purchaser of a hospital, want to make the hospital more circular, or whether you are working for a medical device company, it's very nice to think on how you can apply a circular economy principles into your organizational model. Of course, you can start with engineering and more sustainable products, but that's not what everybody can do. Sometimes you import products and you have to sell them. But you can think of using new packaging. For instance, use biodegradable packaging. Just buy it and pack it in that. Collect the packaging. If you sell it to hospitals, or if you purchase products from a supplier in a hospital, ask your supplier to collect their own packaging. Why should you pay as a hospital to get your waste collected by a waste collection company if the company makes a profit margin on the products? It's also a very nice service to supply as a supplier to your customer to collect that packaging, because it also differentiates yourself from other companies. It gives you a competitive edge. And also think on products as a service. Complete new models. You see at the moment that the sharing companies, like we have Green Wheels in Holland, sharing car sharing, and other sharing companies, they are really gaining in revenues. They are growing at the moment. So our economy is changing. And if you wait and you wait long enough, then you will have an old conventional company lacking behind competition. And there's a reason to lag behind, because I have a small business case to illustrate the problem if you want to transit from linear to circular. Let's discuss this business case. We are dealing with a company selling complex medical surgical devices. And they have a good business, as you see. They have revenues rising after years. Their costs are really controlled. So their business is good and their profits are good. Shareholders are happy. Now, a team within the company says, we have a good idea. We have to become more sustainable because it's in our mission statement. Well, the investors are happy. Yeah, let's do that. Make a business plan. So they make a business plan and they say, well, we have to redesign our complex surgical instrument. So we have some redesign costs. Oh yeah, and if we are now selling them as single-use products, so disposable, but we want to collect them from a hospital and use those parts to make new, remanufacture to new products. So we have some collection costs because globally we have to collect them all after use from the hospitals. Those are costs, but we also have to disinfect them. Then we have to remanufacture them, and the revenues, we don't know. We think that a sustainable product sells more than a linear product, but it has to prove itself. So the projections are a little bit different than our previous graph. It takes a little bit longer to get the revenues growing. We believe that they will grow, and the costs are a little bit higher in the beginning to transit to a circular model. So investors, please allow us to make less profit. What do you think the investors will say? And this is the biggest problem in the transition to the circular economy, is that it's not sure whether we can make the same profit margins as with sustainable products. And somewhere in the back of our minds, we need to know that we need to change, but this is really lacking us. And it's difficult. It's difficult. So it's cheaper, and that's also what you see happening at the moment. It's cheaper to greenwash. Greenwashing is a term which is referred to organizations or persons who pretend to be more sustainable than they really are. And you can do that on a firm level, organization level, or on your product level. And of course, if you demand in your requirements, your procurement requirements to a supplier that they will get 20 points for sustainability, then maybe we are forcing companies to greenwash because they don't want to miss that. They don't want to miss out the supplying that hospital if they are running with competitors to gain that hospital. But they really have to pretend that they're green, and they're not. So they have to think on something. So that's why you see increased use of greenwashing. See at the pictures below, I just got them from the internet, but there are so many. We saw it with the fuel pumps. From the one day to the other, we are pumping now with green handles, and the whole signs are green. But the gasoline did not change, or not so much. And you see it from many companies. They just put a green package on it. And it's also for a hospital, if you purchase with suppliers, very difficult. If they have a nice brochure and saying, yeah, we have less carbon dioxide emissions if you purchase our products, it's very hard to really understand if that is true or not. Because if you want to know if it is true, they all need to do life cycle assessments to prove that they indeed have lower carbon dioxide emissions. So greenwashing is less cost intensive, and yes, what I said, some companies do not have any other choice if they want to stay in the business. But I would like to say to you all, try to avoid greenwashing. And so don't make circular products because it's a trend. And always be realistic, and most important, do it evidence-based. Make sure that it's really not like solar panels. I mean, the whole world is using solar panels, but because of using so many solar panels, we need a lot of aluminium, and aluminium is the worst metal we can use in the world. To produce 1 kilogram of aluminium is equivalent to the energy used of a household during 1.2 weeks in the Netherlands. So if we use more solar panels with aluminium strips, we are depleting the earth resources. And it's very hard to comprehend that. I also understand that for the general public, but we need to learn more. But there are some reasons to transit your business from linear to circular, and we have to do it because we want to be less dependent on raw materials. We already saw it with the face masks, that we had too few in the beginning of 2021. Lack of resources, we see it now with other resources. We need to preserve our natural resources by recycle more. We need to decrease waste streams. If it were only for the costs, the General Hospital pays over 100,000 euros per quarter to get their waste collected. But also in many countries, the waste streams have negative effects on the ecological environment and human health. And in the end, all those streams also have an impact on the global environment in terms of climate change impact. And lastly, that's the fourth reason, is it gives you new business opportunities. Circular economy principles does generate new business, although it might look uncertain how much you're going to earn with it. If you want to read more, we do have some publications. You can find them on Google Scholar. There's a publication also published by the European Committee through our research. And after the summer of this year, we will launch 2 circular economy courses. One course is circular strategies for medtech companies, and the other course is circular strategies for hospitals. Those are self-paced online courses, which you only need a computer and internet connection, and they are free. And if you want to have a TU Delft certificate, you only pay administration costs if you complete those courses. So I would like to invite you all to have a look at our platform after the summer when we launch these courses. They will give you all hand tools and easy strategies to make your business or your hospital more circular. This is the end of my presentation, and hopefully, and I can imagine that you have some comments or questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bart. I have a lot of questions, but I'm not gonna claim the time we have for a Q&A session. Just one, it was very insightful. Just one question from my end. We are thinking about how can we impact in a positive way this topic, also because we talk a lot about this and we get a lot of questions, obviously, also from our customers. But we have different stakeholders in this entire process. We have the manufacturers, we have the commercial channels, we have hospitals, the reprocessing industry, and then with the brief knowledge I have on this topic, it's my first question is, okay, what role can and should we all play, and where can or should these initiatives be centralized and monitored? Because I think if we want to make a real impact, is there an organ who centralizes these initiatives or who monitors these initiatives? That's one of my key questions. I hope this makes sense.
Yes, no, there are many different initiatives, and there's no real central organ who keeps control on it. Although the European Committee decided to initiate the Green Deal, which was already launched a couple of years ago, and in many EU member states, a Green Deal also for healthcare has been implemented. So there is a strong drive out of the governments and NGOs. There's now a preparation to launch the Corporate Social Responsibility Directive for larger organizations. By law, they have to report on sustainability efforts and CO2 reductions. Those need to be reported in the annual reports and are not free. They really have to be audited. More and more EU member states and even the United Kingdom already launched a social responsibility law on national level. So we will be faced with more government-regulated initiatives on this aspect. And that's, of course, because there's a European climate law which says that by 2030 we have to reduce 55% on CO2 emissions as compared to the 90s, and by 2050 it needs to be climate neutral. So what you will face, and what we all will see, that if 2030 approaches, we will get more regulations. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm thinking of we all think Europe or beyond, but maybe it's also an idea to start locally with some parties on both ends of the industry who are interested, and maybe see with some hospitals, okay, how can we help support? Because also with the lack we experienced that the last couple of years, the lack of resource raw materials. So maybe these raw materials, if they can be reproduced, I'm not an expert on this, but maybe this could also be a revenue model for the hospitals.
No, yes. That's what we are aiming at also. Yes. Yeah, and it helps if hospitals demand more sustainable products.
Yeah.
And circular economy principles. Yeah, that really helps.
With the financial pressure on our industry in general, and on hospitals, financial resources are a topic. If this can create a revenue model for the hospitals, that would be very, very interesting. But I have a lot of other questions, but maybe I'll follow up by mail. I'll leave the stage to my other colleagues. Thank you very much for your presentation.
You're welcome. So
if I may, Bart, thank you. It was fantastic. I found your presentation shocking, very inspirational and very practical. So ending up with the education programs which you're putting up, I think it's very clear way of moving forward, and I will follow up with you directly because I already see a couple of the opportunities to work it out.
Okay.
I mean, we are eventually in real shit as a human beings, right? And we still feel like it's beyond my doorstep. Why would I solve it? But that's not the situation anymore. I mean, we have to act now, and the avalanche will fall. I mean, more and more companies and people will be coming to it. So I could immediately see, my like very practical takeout that I will share with our clients, our hospitals, customers, and our suppliers, your training programs which you're putting up, so that we talk same language. And again,
once we get the links, the URLs ready for the 2 courses, I will ask Simon or Olivier to spread it out through your organization.
Yeah. Simon, please take note, because that would be very interesting to share with our associates, but also for our associates to share with our customers.
Taking.
Are there any more questions or remarks? Does it make sense to you? Or do you see opportunities in your own business life to develop a circular economy product or service? Or maybe you have some products which you think of, well, maybe I don't have to sell them, but I have to rent them out.
That's what we did already, because of supply and demand mainly. But luckily it also has a positive impact on this circular economy. We already have like a product as a service model for some more complex devices which are not used on a daily basis. So we have an application or product specialist joining these mobile devices. Let's put it that way, and that's a service we provide to our customers.
Nice. Yeah. Anybody else want to react on that?
I mean, if I may comment, for me, I look at it from two angles, of course. Yes, it's what we can do within our organization. We've embarked. I've spent the last, oh gosh, my battery's running out. If I cut, it's because I don't have my lead. But we spent the last year doing an internal audit. So we're embarking in terms of our own organization on a sustainability plan going forward, short-term plan, medium and long-term plan. And an interesting thing would be to share notes and to compare notes amongst us as distributors within our own organizations. This is one item I'd like to put forward because we've set up an environmental committee within our organization, and we will come up with plans following the report and a pathway to achieve these objectives. But that's one angle. And the second is, yes, to understand how to approach our clients, the hospitals. I suppose the lead really needs to come from the private sector and the initiative. I'm sure that most public sector hospitals, and I talk about the public sector now, are run in the same way. In many ways, crisis management. So it's the day-to-day and the short-term results. So we need to lead the way, and then to lead the way, you need really those amazing arguments, that data, that spark that can really set the ball rolling, be it in
drive
savings,
the willingness
cost
to pay as
savings,
well.
Willingness to come to the table, to a win-win scenario. Definitely, what is the win-win scenario? A realistic one, because of course, one of the issues, of course, that this subject, besides the harsh reality, is that yes, sometimes in the short term there isn't really a business gain necessarily in the short term. So the mindset needs to be different as well.
Yeah.
So there's all that,
Yeah. What you saw in a short video, that was a project we started with the Maastad Hospital, which is a large hospital in the Rotterdam area, the area where we have our Dutch port. We started the hospital with a project, developing a product for them out of their waste, together with the waste processing company and local NGOs. And what our experience was is that it made a whole new partnership with the hospital. We used to be supplier, and from that project on, we were partners is such a general term, but we were more building it up together. So it also changed our relationship with the hospital, which was really nice up to today. That you can see that you can accomplish with each other a lot more than if you only visualize yourself as a supplier. It had really a positive effect, what I think. So discussing these kind of potential projects with your hospitals also increases the bonding as a supplier-customer relationship. So you can also
we have people from Erasmus MC here in the call. I'm not sure if they're still here, but I don't know if they have questions on or suggestions. You have the industry in front of you, so that would be a nice opportunity to pitch some ideas on your end.
Yes, hi, I'm from Erasmus. Let me turn off my camera, turn on. So, hi, I'm Caroline. Well, yeah, I have to think about it. I'm not convinced yet, and we know the Maastad Hospital, so maybe we will contact them or contact Bart van Straten. But I have to think about this whole idea. So not from my side, ideas for now. Sorry.
But you say you're not convinced, and you're not
No.
convinced about.
Yeah, but because when you're talking about the circular economy, for my perspective, it's better to to look for ideas at the beginning of the stage, so not using the propylene blue blankets anymore. And yeah, that's why I'm considering and saying that I want to yeah, think about it, what we can achieve with that. And for that perspective, maybe I will contact the Maastad Hospital or maybe contact you, Bart, directly. So yeah, let me think about it.
Yeah, the blue wrapping paper is just an
Yeah.
example, of course. If you look to the slide diagram, we have a lot of circular strategies. The best one is just to stop using single-use devices. But in case of blue wrap, it's not really ideal because the other product to use to sterilize instruments is a container, but that one is made from aluminum with some disadvantages. So there we have two products which are not ideal. And I agree, it should start with, it starts at the beginning at the design of products, but what we see at the moment is that all the products which are used by hospitals these days are designed not to be reused for a long time. And that's because they were all designed in the 80s and the 90s. So it's and we know why. So we will get different medical devices once the current younger generation starts designing products which design out waste. So that will take a lot of years, and until that time, we have to clear the rubbish from the current waste streams. And for every kilogram we save to have it be gone to incineration, we save 2.2 kilograms of CO2 emissions per kilogram metal waste. And we save 1.3 kilograms of CO2 emissions on plastic waste, which is incinerated. So only for that reason would be used to take those waste streams out of the process and start reusing it and not burning it.
And that's
yeah.
Sorry. That's a big impact, the devices themselves, but we also get a lot of questions from our customers in Benelux, the entire Benelux, on you have the surgical instruments, the medical devices, but you also have the packaging aspect.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think you mentioned it in your presentation. I think this I'm wondering what's the impact of this packaging in the entire surgical waste, but also maybe there should be some directives. I'm not sure if this is possible, but if we as a company, we have a very good relationship with industry leading manufacturers, but if we have as a Benelux activity go and ask to change their entire packaging process, we have no impact, or we have very low impact. You have the US, you have Asia, you have the rest of Europe. I think if there are some directives on this, so we can centralize or reinforce the power of, okay, packaging of medical devices should be according to these standards, that would be wonderful. And I think we can join forces to drive this. I'm not sure if you already studied this, Bart.
Yes. Yeah, we are doing some studies now with the packaging of the implants. As we speak, we're doing mechanical property testing on implant packaging made out of PET, like the Coca-Cola bottle. And what we see that we can granulate them with relative low energy and get very nice new products out of it. So we don't need to get oil from the Gulf of Mexico and process it into crude oil and plastic granules, but we can just take that packaging, flake it, and injection mold it to new labels or other kind of products. And we do it all locally, so we don't have to transport it over large distances.
Thank you.
Bart, sorry, one question. If you have the granulates from the propylene or the PET, what about the microplastics? Do you have any report about this? Because microplastics and plastics are coming into the environment. Do you have any?
The nice thing about if you recycle your own plastic is that you get quality control over your own production facility. Now, if you purchase a product which is made in China or wherever, you don't know it. We saw that with the face mask. We got a lot of imported face masks with the CE, but the C was a little bit distant from the E. And it was not a real CE. And we found it out due to testing. And the second largest advantage of recycling your own plastic waste is that you can quality control it. That's a big advantage. That's one of the reasons actually to recycle. And yeah. And also in terms of microplastics, of course.
Yeah, because that's a lot a use problem in the environment. So that's why I
Yeah, but then
asked
you should
this,
say I mean, almost everything what you purchase is in plastic.
yeah, that's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But we do fluorescence spectroscopy measurements if we recycle, so we know exactly what's in the material. And we also know if we recycle, it gets more harder and brittle. So that means on a molecular level, the molecular chains become shorter. And that's a big advantage.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Any other questions or feedback or things you would like to share?
Any ideas?
There is a one question in chat from Barry Russell, and he asks whether your presentation would be available for today's participants of this webinar, and also whether I am allowed to share contact info of you, Dr. Straten, to our members.
Yeah, you can share my contact information, and I think you also recorded this presentation. You can make a film out of it and maybe share it or put it on a server so that everybody can download it.
Great, thank you.
Vaclav, you have a question.
Yes, Bart, first of all, thanks a lot for the presentation. Really inspiring how you see the way forwad and how you look at the problem. Obviously a huge problem, and I'm sure we'll definitely follow up with Jiri. I work with Jiri, who was in the car. I'm sure he's going to be full of ideas, so he'll be reaching out. And I look forward to being a little bit more involved in this because it's a big issue, and we definitely need to act in this field. So thanks a lot again.
You're welcome, and nice that you attended this webinar.
I think we should join forces from the different parts of the industry or the different stakeholders in the industry, maybe create a panel. That was the initial idea. Involve
That's still
people.
in the plan for sure.
Yeah. So
and also as a group, like having more people together as a group, definitely there is a bigger chance of making an impact.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much,
Good
everybody.
idea. Yeah, thank you all.
I have to jump off. I'll leave the closing notes to Václav or to Simon. I thank you very much, Bart, and your team for this wonderful and insightful presentation and brainstorm. Thanks to the rest of the associates and other attendees. And we will be in touch for sure. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye all.
Thank you, Olivier.
Bye.
So everybody, thank you all for coming. Thank you, Dr. Straten, that you made the presentation for us. I believe everybody found it insightful and useful. I personally was paying attention all the time, and some of those things were indeed shocking to me, as Gigi said. We have last 4 to 3 minutes, so I believe unless there's no further question from the audience.
I see one hand up.
Yeah, me again. Guys, thanks a lot, everybody, for joining. It was really nice, from my opinion, and look forward to seeing you hopefully at the upcoming e-fair. And definitely, we're still planning on organizing the panel discussion as we discussed at the annual meeting. So Berend, who is the new manager of IntMeDA, will be running that, and we'll definitely share more information once we have some interesting names for the panel discussion.
Okay.
And we'll
Well,
always
thank you very much.
invite you, Bart, as well.
Thank you. Okay, I wish you all the best and good luck with your circular strategies.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Simon, also thank you for arranging everything.
Thank you for making this happen, actually.
Yeah. So if you needed any more time, just let me know.
I will, for sure. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Yes, my friend. Ahoj. Ale za mě dobrý. Přišlo méně lidí.